Hey guys, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to my guide for Ramuh Extreme, the latest primal to be added in patch 2.3. In order to enter this fight, you must clear 2.3's main scenario quest, defeat Leviathan and Mogomog Extreme, as well as have a minimum item level of 85. This fight has a bit of RNG, and it will take some reactive play from you and your teammates to get the win. Ramuh's first phase will last until he's at 65% of his maximum HP. His attacks include the following. Thunder Spark will cause an AoE around him that simply does a few thousand damage. Shock Strike is his big tank hit ability. It hits in a big circle around the main tank, so make sure if you aren't the one tanking him that you aren't standing too close to him, but we'll go into more detail in this later. Thunderstruck will cause several lightning circles to appear around random parts of the arena, as well as surrounding and following 3 players. When it strikes, it will do a varying amount of damage. It's okay to be hit by a single Thunderstruck, just make sure you aren't in more than one, as the damage does overlap. Additionally, when Thunderstruck goes out, the water along the outside of the arena will pulse and do about 5,000 damage to anyone standing in it, so don't be. The random Thunderstrucks around the battlefield will leave behind lightning orbs. Touching one gives you the buff Electroconductivity, which does nothing on its own. Get 3 stacks of Electroconductivity and it will give you a 1-minute buff called Surge Protection. Surge Protection is vital for the tanks here, as it prevents them from being one-shot by Shock Strike. When the fight starts, have the off tank pick up the first 3 orbs that spawn and immediately provoke off the main tank so he can survive the Shock Strike. When the buff has about 20 or 30 seconds left, the main tank should run around and grab their 3 orbs and do another tank swap. Have the tanks focus target each other and do this tank swap for the entire fight. Keep in mind that if you collect more than 3 orbs, you will begin receiving a stacking healing debuff that reduces the healing you receive by 25% per stack, on top of Surge Protection's effect. This should only be done as a last resort, in case there was some miscommunication with collecting the orbs. Additionally, the more lightning orbs on the field, the harder Ramuh's abilities will hit, so you will need to assign 1 to 2 other players to grab the spare orbs around the arena. It's safest to have those people never get more than 2 stacks of Electroconductivity so they don't receive the 1-minute Surge Protection buff or the healing debuff. Just make sure the tank always has at least 3 orbs when they need them. The tank making a macro that lets the party know when they need an orb comes in handy a lot. Finally, Ramuh uses Chaotic Strike before every other Thunderstruck, approximately. This will target 2 players with a crosshair and after a short delay give them a fear effect for 8 seconds. When the debuff wears off, they will become seduced and walk towards Ramuh, as well as greatly multiplying the amount of damage they will take from his next ability. This will cause Thunderspark to one-shot anyone affected by it. The only way to free them from the terror is to purposely hit them with Thunderstruck. To counter this, mark a spot near Ramuh where both Chaotic Strike targets can gather, and assign a priority system of players to break them free. I recommend marking 5 people the numbers 1 through 5, with 1 having the top priority and 5 being a last resort. It will be up to the late numbers such as 4 and 5 to closely pay attention to the lower numbered teammates to see if they are needed to break the fear. Chaotic Strike will target 1 random party member other than the tanks, as well as whoever is farthest from Ramuh at the time. This means you can position someone to always be one of the Chaotic Strike targets as long as they know it's coming soon. This also helps ensure that one of the tanks running around grabbing orbs doesn't accidentally become the target of Chaotic Strike. You'll have to handle these mechanics for the first 35% of Ramuh's HP. Make sure not to push the phase while you still have fear targets that require a Thunderstruck, or they won't be able to be freed. When he reaches 65%, he will summon 6 Gray Arbiters around the outside of the room. These guys have 2 moves. The first is Thunderbolt, which shoots a line AoE across the room, dealing about 500 damage. It works very similarly to Ultima Weapon's Magitech bits, but they can be hard to see at times. The other move is Increased Sentence. If any Gray Arbiter around the room is allowed to cast this 10 times, Ramuh will instantly wipe the raid, so it acts as your timer for this phase. Circle around the room and kill them in whatever order works for your party. If your damage is lacking, I recommend using a caster limit break to damage multiple Arbiters at once. Just make sure you time it well so you don't get killed. You'll still have to deal with all the same mechanics from Ramuh, including tank swaps, collecting orbs to keep his damage down, Chaotic Strike, Thunderstruck, and the water pulsing, so it takes a bit of practice. I do recommend the 2 Chaotic Strike targets try to put a little bit of space between them, as to not draw too many Thunderbolts while being hit by Thunderstruck. Just a small distance will do, still enough to both be in 1 Thunderstruck. Again, make sure to not kill the last Gray Arbiter if there are people feared still, or they won't be able to be freed. Once you kill all 6 Gray Arbiters, Ramuh will use Judgment Bolt, doing some AoE damage before continuing. This phase is almost identical to the first one, except now Ramuh will cast Rolling Thunder on 2 players and tether them together. The players tethered will take a large amount of damage if they use any abilities while affected, so make sure to stop pressing your abilities ASAP. It will also place a damage over time on both of them that gets stronger for every ability used as well. In order to break this tether, one of the 2 members needs to get the Surge Protection buff. I like to use the 1 through 5 marks we set up earlier to determine who will break the tether, with 5 being the most responsible since number 1 is most responsible for breaking Chaotic Strikes. Rolling Thunder always comes out just before Chaotic Strike, so I recommend waiting until the feared members have been freed in order to run around collecting orbs. This takes precedence over the tank collecting their orbs. The main tank can grab the healing debuff if there aren't enough orbs for both Rolling Thunder and a tank swap. Other than that, continue doing what you've been doing for the entirety of the fight. At 20%, Ramuh will summon 3 more Arbiters that will circle around the arena and randomly stop and create Thunderbolts between themselves and Ramuh that hit for about 1500 damage. They cannot be killed, so simply keep DPSing Ramuh and handling the mechanics as you have been, and you should get the win in no time. Ramuh rewards item level 100 accessories, rarely drops item level 100 weapons, and of course drops a housing item and a mount. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share for more guides. Be sure to like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, and you can follow me on Twitch where I do live stream occasionally. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching, and until next time, take care.